What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was Killed by an Anbu, Becoming a Hollow Part 24. Now, let's begin. Rukia sat on the plush bed, deep in contemplation. Disregarding the residual fragrance of their intense evening, she concentrated entirely on her internal conflict. She remained unfazed by the residual aroma of their closeness from the previous night or by her lack of attire. I made an error in judgment. Upon agreeing to assist Momo, she had mistakenly thought it would be a singular arrangement. She was taken by surprise when her intimate moments with him ignited a profound desire and an intense longing for kissing. I am feeling overwhelmed. She will find it difficult to meet his gaze after the indiscretions that occurred on this very bed. At that moment, the door slowly opened. Momo entered, holding a packet of melon bread and a steaming cup of tea. Allow me to extend your lifespan by a few millennia. Here, I have prepared your breakfast. Rukia sighed, her hands instinctively covering her face as if to protect herself from the discomfort of the situation. I do not have an appetite at the moment. Momo's gaze became gentler. I find it hard to accept that you lack an appetite after all the activity you engaged in last night. You were quite energetic. Rukia's ears flushed with a deep shade of red, indicating her embarrassment. Most concerning was her inability to respond effectively to Momo's remarks. In an unprecedented move, she chose to remain silent, her lips sealed despite the humiliation she faced. Rukia, what is the reason for your similar manner of speaking? Momo inclined her head thoughtfully. I'm not entirely certain. Didn't our instructor mention that individuals often unconsciously emulate those they admire the most? My most admired figure is Naruto-kun. Data. Momo smiled and positioned the breakfast tray near Rukia, allowing the tomboy to take in the enticing aroma of the tea. Are you still not feeling hungry? Rukia lowered her hands from her face and took the tray from Momo with determination. Please leave it here. As Rukia proceeded to the bathroom, Momo hesitantly began organizing the room and replacing the sheets. The scent of Naruto remained, though it was not as pronounced as it had been previously. He has departed. I must dedicate myself and return to his side. She needed to graduate at the earliest opportunity, even if it meant sacrificing her sleep. I also need to assist Rukia in exploring her feelings for Naruto-kun. She was confident that Naruto currently held a unique significance for her. Nonetheless, she could not assure that it would stay consistent over the course of a year or even a decade. Rukia played a significant role in Momo's strategic plan. Her approach to establish her position in his affections. He held a deep appreciation for the work that was Rukia. While she may risk being overlooked on her own, the presence of Rukia significantly diminishes that possibility. Moreover, the presence of a friend is invariably more advantageous than solitude. Momo discovered the package dispatched by Byakuya, along with the elegant hair ornaments of noble design. With no further need for them, she placed them into her wardrobe, next to Naruto's clothing. Rukia returned in a new set of attire, a purple kimono that appeared somewhat worn yet retained a charming appeal. Momo was grateful that Rukia valued her clothing from her time in Rukongai. Rukia felt a flush of embarrassment under Momo's gaze, as if recalling the close moments they had experienced together. Please refrain from staring at me. Momo smiled lightly and handed the tray to Rukia. Please enjoy your meal. Thank you. Rukia took a seat and commenced enjoying the melon bread. Momo felt an impulsive desire to make a cutting remark to Rukia, perhaps something like, "It seems you're consuming quite a bit for someone who claimed not to be hungry." Naruto-kun is influencing me. Rukia inclined her head, exhibiting a look of confusion. Could you please share what you are currently engaged in? Momo shook her head, indicating there was nothing to report. Rukia, we will be foregoing our lessons today, however, tomorrow. What is planned for tomorrow? Rukia inquired. Please provide an update at your earliest convenience. Momo adopted her most solemn demeanor. Anticipate that students may direct attention towards you and express inappropriate remarks. Oh. Rukia's eyes widened as understanding settled in. Are you referring to the sounds? We certainly made quite an impression. Rukia had been indifferent to the sounds escaping her in the intensity of the moment, and now she must confront the repercussions of her actions. Momo acknowledged with a decisive nod. The influence of Naruto-kun has led to a reluctance among them to inform the dorm managers. However, it is likely that some individuals will still engage in discussions behind our backs. I want you to be ready for that. I am indifferent to it, Rukia stated, abruptly striking the bed with her fist. I would like to clarify that the responsibility lies with him for causing us to react in such a manner. How could he behave in that way? Momo smiled instinctively at the energetic tomboy. Now, Rukia, it is important to recognize that accepting defeat can be a valuable step forward. I was not defeated. I was misled, betrayed, and ultimately deceived. You were not deceived. I was joking, Rukia said, as she finished the last piece of sweet bread and took a sip of her tea. I am quite satisfied, Momo. I lack the motivation to engage in any activities today. I will rest for a bit and then meet with Hisana. Momo's eyes shone with a sense of opportunity. Did Naruto assist you with your sister? Indeed. He provided her with a renewed sense of purpose. I will always appreciate that, Rukia remarked, her expression reflective as she reminisced about the day she was reunited with her sister and the moment Naruto achieved the extraordinary. The sole reason I decided to relinquish my virginity. Is that the correct term? Indeed. That was an unwise decision, Rukia scratched her cheeks. However, I will not overlook this regrettable evening. I feel the same way, Momo said as she extended her hand to grasp Rukia's hands. Rukia, would you be willing to join me next time? What the? Rukia halted, taken aback by the imploring expression in Momo's eyes. I am having difficulty understanding your perspective. Could you please clarify your reasoning? Momo exhaled deeply. You observed Naruto-kun's desires. I am unable to fulfill his needs on my own. However, Momo gently grasped Rukia's hands. You mentioned that you would not consider marriage until you achieve a high-ranking position as a Shinigami. Would you be willing to assist me in the meantime? Rukia was taken aback, yet she lacked the resolve to hurt Momo's feelings. Furthermore, her heart started to race as she envisioned another evening with the two, causing her throat to feel dry. I will consider it. She was prepared for the proposal, yet her pride prevented her from acknowledging a vulnerability, particularly one as uncomfortable as this. Momo displayed a bright smile and moved confidently into Rukia's embrace. You were exceptional. Rukia exhaled softly and offered a reassuring pat on Momo's back, accompanied by a subtle smile. Winning against this couple is highly unlikely. On the opposite side of the Soul Society, Naruto was uncertain about the route to the 12th squad, but he had Azane to assist with the directions. They promptly arrived outside the renowned 12th squad. The entrance to the barracks featured a wooden door beneath an expansive, sloping golden roof. The numeral Shi-er, representing 12, was inscribed on both sides of the door. Naruto proactively approached and knocked on the door, which triggered a CCTV-like device to emerge from the wall. Welcome to the 12th Division, announced the device in a precise and clear tone. How may I assist you? Naruto cleared his throat and put on his best smile. I would like to arrange a meeting with your captain regarding a significant business matter. Have you scheduled an appointment? No. Please complete the form from our sister building and submit it accordingly. If fortunate, your earliest appointment may be scheduled in 6 months. Azane extended her hand and seized the device, exclaiming, What? We are short on time. The vice captain of the 4th squad wishes to meet with him. Vice Captain Azane Katetsu, while I may not express my respect, I present to you the list of rules established by our captain. The voice momentarily halted, seemingly searching for the document containing the written rules. No individual, regardless of their standing, will be granted the opportunity to meet with me directly. The sole exception to this policy is Captain Commander, and that is the final word. Azane exclaimed, That is utterly unreasonable. I urge you to comprehend the urgency of the situation. It is essential that we meet with your captain immediately. My hands are tied, the voice responded. Failure to adhere to the established protocols may result in severe consequences imposed by my captain. Azane turned to Naruto, her eyes glistening with a sense of helplessness. What are our next steps? Naruto grasped her hand with a sense of reassurance. I tend to be quite assertive. If the door is not opened promptly, I will take decisive action. Excuse me, are you attempting to? 1. Please refrain from attempting to. 2. Excuse me, you are not permitted to. 3. As his composed voice faded, Naruto tightened his left hand and forcefully struck the door. A rapid clacking echoed through the dimly lit chamber, emanating from a man diligently typing across a range of advanced equipment simultaneously. He was encircled by a collection of scientific instruments that only he could fully understand within Soul Society, and he alone could utilize them to achieve their optimal performance. The individual's face was adorned with striking contrasts of black and white, while his body was completely enveloped in white paint. Both his ears and his chin appeared to have been replaced with truncated golden cones. Within the entirety of Soul Society, there exists but a single individual who would choose to apply such disconcerting makeup. That individual was none other than Mayuri Kuretsuchi, the unconventional and contentious captain of the 12th Squad, a former criminal whom Kazuki had extracted from the maggot's nest. He was engaged in a significant task, evident from his focused demeanor. The screens before him showcased complex data flowing at an impressive speed, and Mayuri's mind adeptly synchronized with the influx of information. His fingers accelerated as a calculated smile emerged on his meticulously painted face. The key to hollowification resides in its. At a pivotal moment in his research, a knock on the door interrupted him, accompanied by the gentle voice of his daughter. Master. Mayuri swiftly utilized Shunpo to reach the door and opened it with precision. On the opposite side stood a young woman characterized by her slender figure and striking green eyes. Her dark hair was elegantly secured in a lengthy braid, complemented by subtly parted bangs. In contrast to her fellow Shinigami, she donned a short black kimono that extended to mid-thigh, and she did not carry a sword with her in person. Nemu held the position of vice captain within this squad. Master. Her gentle whisper complemented the tender expression in her eyes. Vice. Before she could articulate another word, Mayuri's fist struck her face, propelling her into the wall. Collapsing onto the cold ground, she coughed up blood and looked up at Mayuri with a blank expression. It seemed she was accustomed to such treatment from her creator. I must express my disappointment. It was clearly communicated that today was not a suitable time for interruptions. Please provide a compelling reason for me to refrain from taking drastic measures. I apologize, Master. We are facing an emergency situation. Mayuri approached her with a measured pace. What is the significance of this matter? Vice Captain Azane and an unidentified Shinigami have infiltrated the facility, Nemu reported regarding the situation outside Mayuri's underground facility. Akon and others attempted to intercept them but were quickly overcome. Mayuri's eyes widened in astonishment. Is Akon defeated? Vice Captain Azane was primarily recognized as a healer, with her role as a fighter coming secondary. Akon possesses the intellect required to decisively overcome someone of her caliber. Akon has the potential to overcome even a captain, provided there is adequate research and preparation involved. The most daunting aspect of 12th Squad was indeed remarkable. Despite their seemingly delicate and intellectual appearance, they possessed the capability to effectively support the Soul Society in confronting any adversary. The yellow-haired Shinigami at her side, Nemu murmured as she cleaned the blood from her mouth. He possesses significant power. I am confident he is at the captain level. Captain level, Mayuri said, narrowing his eyes. Ah, it appears we have a familiar figure from the academy. What brings him here? Mayuri's focus on the subject of Naruto Uzumaki was overshadowed by his fascination with unraveling the mystery that Kazuki had been unable to decode, the hollowification. Naruto's inherent abilities held no appeal for him whatsoever. Ultimately, his research with Kenpachi Zaraki has conclusively demonstrated that souls possessing captain-level Ryutsu can manifest in an organic manner. Naruto Uzumaki was undeniably one of them. Even Arankars were given greater precedence in research than an individual whose voice had the power to captivate women. He mentioned that he has a significant matter to discuss with you, Nemu replied in her characteristic somber tone. May I have your authorization to engage him in battle? Are you considering a confrontation with him? Mayuri remarked dismissively. You might as well ask for your own demise. While Mayuri had full confidence in Nemu's combat abilities as her creator, he harbored doubts about her potential to overcome Naruto. At least not without exerting herself to the brink of exhaustion. Nemu maintained her silence, anticipating Mayuri's decision. There exists a method to overcome him with minimal destruction involved. Mayuri stroked his metal chin thoughtfully, reflecting on the various rumors he had encountered regarding Naruto Uzumaki. Upon further examination of Nemu's bloodied condition, he hesitated to pursue the suggestion. she would not be in a position to attract his attention in her current state. Your performance has not met expectations. There is room for improvement. Nemu remained unaffected by being labeled a failure directly by her creator. She had become accustomed to this situation, familiar with the mistreatment and abuse she endured, and consistently devoted to loving him without reservation. Nemu composed herself and stood with her hands neatly clasped in front of her lap. "What would you like me to do, master?" While she was intrigued by this non-hostile approach, she refrained from asking the question, knowing it would provoke Mayuri to begin her verbal onslaught once more. Nemu, akin to all sentient beings, possessed the capacity to experience pain. Being engineered to withstand greater challenges than any Shinigami did not imply she appreciated enduring torment. Conversely, she detested pain. Nevertheless, she would not hesitate to sacrifice her life for her captain. Mayuri directed Nemu to exit the facility. "Please bring them to me. I will handle the situation personally." Nemu provided a decisive nod and swiftly advanced towards her objective with a speed reminiscent of first-class Shunpo, all while conserving her spiritual energy. Despite the stinging sensation of the wound on her face, she continued without pause to apply any treatment. Executing her creator's directives was consistently her highest priority. She quickly intercepted the duo as they moved swiftly through the facility. Azane. Nemu maintained a positive relationship with Azane as a member of the Shinigami Women's Association. However, she had never encountered the yellow-haired man accompanying Azane. Upon a single glance, she determined that his Ryutsu posed a significant threat, confirming Mayuri's assessment of the man's abilities. "Oh, Nemu," Azane remarked, her expression one of surprise. "Could you please explain what occurred to your face?" Nemu was not at all surprised to observe the concern reflected on Azane's face. With a composed demeanor, she stated, "These are merely surface wounds. They will not impede my essential functions." "Your face has noticeably swollen," remarked the yellow-haired man, his gentle tone causing Nemu to drift into an unintentional daze. "I will address it with Kaido." Nemu abruptly emerged from her reverie, her eyes widening in astonishment as her pupils expanded. Although her emotional range and intelligence were somewhat restricted in comparison to others, she instinctively recognized that the warm, pleasant sensations arising within her were a result of the mysterious man's voice. She experienced a sense of curiosity, seeking to identify the exact name for this emotion, while simultaneously desiring to engage with it further. Similar to her creator, she could develop a profound curiosity regarding specific subjects in life, many of which related to her own development. As these thoughts swirled through her mind, Naruto had already commenced his Kaido treatment on her injured face. Azane displayed a gentle smile. "Thank you, Naruto." Nemu inclined her head, offering him a sincere gesture of appreciation. "Thank you, Naruto." Naruto smiled appreciatively at the expressions of gratitude from the ladies. "In return for my assistance, would you be willing to escort us to your captain?" Nemu acknowledged with a decisive nod. "I have been assigned to escort you both to him. Kindly follow me closely. The master is currently inside." Nemu stated this after escorting Naruto and Azane to the entrance of Mayuri's concealed underground research facility. "My esteemed companion, how shall we address this Mayuri insect?" Nami spoke, her voice laced with contempt. She held a low opinion of Mayuri. "I propose we subject him to the Iron Maiden 99 times. Subsequently, we will remove his skin and execute him by crucifixion at the entrance of his barracks. After 9 days, we provide him with a compassionate end." "Since when did you acquire expertise in torture?" Nami exhaled deeply. "I am fully committed to shouldering any responsibility to ensure the well-being of my partner. I will make an effort to address this matter in a calm and constructive manner." While Mayuri may exhibit malevolent traits, it is important to recognize that Naruto is not without his own flaws. Naruto had minimal justification to confront the unhinged scientist if he voluntarily surrendered the Hollow-Feet Shinigami. Otherwise, he may need to consider alternative methods that will not compromise his standing with the Gote 13. Mayuri is resistant to reasoning. Aurora has a point to make. It is essential to prioritize the safety of yourself and those around you. However, it is not feasible to maintain a consistently defensive stance. Consequently, it is imperative that we implement measures to mitigate potential threats before they escalate into significant issues. Acknowledging Aurora's thoughtful guidance, he directed his attention to Azane. I will take care of it independently. Azane shook her head, then displayed a look of determination. I am eager to assist. I anticipated that reaction from my resolute vice captain. Everyone keeps saying that, Azane remarked, her brow furrowing in concern. I am not inflexible. I am simply committed to my responsibilities. His smile broadened in response to her nearly innocent objection. We can discuss this further once we conclude our current tasks. Upon entering the room, they immediately sensed a distinct change in the surrounding Raryoku. The ambiance and apparatus of the chamber appeared remarkably advanced, particularly for the year 1950. This location is impressive. However, I must express that your appearance is quite unsettling and may linger in my thoughts for some time. The scientist tilted his head at an unusual angle, his golden eyes scrutinizing Naruto with great intensity. Your voice. How does it function? Your Zanpakuto is sheathed, so it doesn't originate from there. You aren't utilizing any artificial implants either. Fascinating. I have not encountered an ability quite like this before. Ironically, Mayuri had previously encountered, or rather heard, Naruto's voice. However, on that particular day, he exhibited no interest. With a slight shake of his head, Naruto remarked, an intriguing ability, though it lacks practical application, aside from perhaps captivating the attention of ladies. You may not fully grasp the potential of your ability. With it, I can persuade anyone to willingly participate as my research subject. There is a possibility of enhancing its effects to influence non-living entities. Consider the prospect of controlling the very reishi through nothing more than your voice. Mayuri became increasingly enthusiastic as he explored the peak potential of Naruto's innate ability. Captain Kuretsuchi, Azane interjected, disregarding Mayuri's enthusiasm entirely. We are here to seek custody of the Hollowfeed Shinigami. We kindly request your permission. Please be quiet. You have intruded upon the 12th squad and caused harm to my personnel. Are you aware of the implications of your actions? Mayuri gradually lifted his chin, revealing a sinister smile. This indicates that I have the legal authority to detain you and include you in my research study. Are you? It's all right, Naruto. Azane placed a hand on his shoulder, offering a strained smile before turning her attention to Mayuri. Captain Kuretsuchi, I am prepared to be your research subject, provided that you release those Shinigami. She had long since acknowledged the repercussions they would encounter due to their audacious decisions. Even a captain was strictly prohibited from engaging with another division's lowest rank, yet they had invaded the barracks and incapacitated nearly every member of the 12th squad. Removing both individuals from their roles and subjecting them to imprisonment would represent the most lenient course of action. In a bid to preserve innocent lives and seek redemption for her past errors, Azane was prepared to volunteer as Mayuri's test subject. Regrettably, I find myself lacking any interest in you, Mayuri stated with a dismissive tone, turning her attention to Naruto. What do you think? Are you open to becoming my research subject? I assure you, you'll receive exceptional treatment. Mayuri exhibited unreasonable behavior, which was characteristic of him. His team was merely a means to an end for him, yet the disruption of his valuable research provoked a deep-seated anger within him. He yearned for retribution, and what could be more satisfying than transforming the wrongdoer into an exceptional test subject? Naruto crossed his arms, displaying a look of skepticism. I suspect that your preferential treatment is only suitable for individuals with unconventional perspectives. Mayuri rubbed his hands, a clear enthusiasm evident on his smiling face. I will administer medication to you 9 times a day. There are only 5 hours allocated for machine operations each day. You will receive adequate nourishment in a comfortable accommodation along with appropriate attire. I will not attempt any life-threatening procedures on you. These represented the most favorable terms that Mayuri had extended to date. Only a female subject could anticipate receiving improved attention, as their distressed cries consistently captivated him. However, Naruto responded with a laugh, dismissing Mayuri's offer entirely. I can offer you an even more advantageous proposal. Deliver the Hollowfeed Shinigami, and I will allow you to leave without any repercussions. This is an exceptional offer, isn't it? Mayuri erupted into uncontrollable laughter. When negotiation fails, violence often takes its place. I am not obligated to engage in that endeavor. I will inform the appropriate authorities of your actions and allow them to take the necessary measures. The most recent Shinigami who harmed his comrades faced imprisonment, and his Zanpakuto was seized. You will both experience the same outcome. Mayuri understood that he needed several weeks of preparation to have any chance of overcoming someone of Naruto's level. However, they had essentially provided him with the leverage to influence them according to his desires. Azane found herself trembling at the thought of Naruto in such a future. That is not permissible. I was the one who facilitated his arrival here. If you wish to report. Naruto carefully pinched Azane's cheeks, preventing her from descending further into despair. Please trust in my abilities. I will ensure that nothing jeopardizes our safety. Naruto had disregarded her repeated requests to refrain from violence, solely due to the challenge posed by Mayuri Kuretsuchi. Naruto comprehended Mayuri's twisted psyche and knew exactly how to manipulate him to achieve his desired outcome. Oblivious to Naruto's inner reflections, Mayuri chuckled. I possess physical evidence regarding your actions, specifically in the form of surveillance footage. Regardless of your strength, it is not possible to evade this situation. Agree to my conditions, and you will endure. Mayuri's confident demeanor indicated his beliefs. He was certain of his impending victory, convinced that he had Naruto firmly under control. Naruto remained unfazed by Mayuri's overt threats. Mayuri, please be truthful with me. What duration do you estimate will be required for me to eliminate you? Mayuri raised his brows in surprise and then stared blankly, as his mind engaged in careful calculations. I possess 33 strategies to exit this location. I hold my life in high regard. My knowledge holds no value if I exist merely as a lifeless entity. Although Mayuri did not exhibit the same level of caution as Kazuki, he had devised numerous contingencies to navigate almost any situation effectively. Naruto displayed a smile. Shall we proceed with the testing? He snapped his fingers with precision. In the briefest instant it took for the sound to reach Mayuri, the scientist experienced a cold blade pressed against his throat. It required only a single snap to position Mayuri's neck at the edge of his sword. Mayuri's eyes opened wide in astonishment. That was Quincy's movement technique, Harenkyaku. Mayuri's assessment was only partially accurate. The technique employed by Naruto was a combination of Shunpo and Harenkyaku, providing him with speed that exceeded both, complemented by the stealthy characteristics of Harenkyaku. It is worth noting that you are not the sole individual who has examined Quincy for their techniques. A devious smile emerged on Mayuri's face. He appeared entirely composed in the face of the sword positioned at his throat. Greetings, Quincy. Those misguided, overly optimistic individuals. I found great enjoyment in facilitating their own decisions regarding their children. I encountered challenges in my project due to the limited resources available, which led me to pause my efforts. It is unfortunate. Azane recoiled at the sound of Mayuri's self-aggrandizing remarks regarding his ruthless deeds. Your actions reflect a troubling nature. That's quite ironic coming from you, Mayuri remarked with a hint of disdain. You serve the most notorious figure within the Soul Society. She cut down hundreds for no reason, whereas my purpose is to research. It represents a purpose that may be beyond the comprehension of those lacking the necessary knowledge. Azane tightened her fists, her body trembling with controlled fury. Captain Unohana has transformed. Her current aspiration is to assist others. I understand. Azane, there's no need to waste your breath explaining anything to him, Naruto interrupted, pressing the sword's edge against Mayuri's throat, drawing a crimson line across his neck. Captain Mayuri, your courage is commendable. Does this confidence stem from your capacity to transcend your physical form and manifest in another guise? Mayuri's eyes widened, revealing a hint of reluctant admiration. It seems you arrived fully equipped. I appear to be in a less favorable position. You will find it impossible to eliminate me, regardless of the time you have to strategize. Naruto drew back the top of his blade, and instantly, intense flames erupted forth. I am indifferent to the form you assume. I can locate you and eliminate you at my discretion, using any method I choose. Taking the life of a captain will lead to serious consequences. Naruto retracted his blade and seized Mayuri by the throat. With a steely gaze, he stated, if you intend to escalate this matter to the authorities, take this into account. I will dismantle your entire team before they have the chance to apprehend me. The issue you referenced will hold little significance if I simply transition to the living world. Mayuri has never feared anyone to this day, but the sheer conviction in Naruto's presence sent shivers down his spine. He recognized a singular truth: the individual in front of him was willing to jeopardize everything to eliminate one person. He was undeniably extraordinary, nothing short of his true self. Naruto relaxed his hold on Mayuri's throat. I can enjoy a comfortable lifestyle in the living world. However, will you be able to pursue your research following my actions against you? Is the fulfillment of confining me truly worth risking your entire career? Mayuri massaged his neck. Unruly individual, he acknowledged with a smile before directing his attention to Nemu. Please escort me to the Hollowfeet Shinigami. I will assist them in their recovery. Nemu nodded mechanically, then suddenly shook her head as if attempting to clear her thoughts. She had come close to yielding to his charm and betraying her father. Master, may I proceed? Mayuri adopted a solemn demeanor. Did you just indicate that you can assist them in their recovery? Will you proceed to eliminate them or reverse their hollowification? Our team members are compensated for providing care to others. Do not eliminate them. Could you please elaborate on your approach? I will demonstrate the process once you escort me to them. Intrigued by Naruto's approach, Mayuri consented to lead them to his experimental materials. Naruto exhaled with a sense of relief. Despite his deep disdain for Mayuri, he found himself unable to liberate the world from his madness. Eliminating Mayuri would jeopardize all his endeavors within the Soul Society. Partner, surrender to your desires, allow these deeper impulses to direct your actions. Subdue this individual immediately. Mayuri's turn will follow Aizen's. That is acceptable as well. As they made their way toward the Hollowfeet Shinigami, Aizen frequently observed Naruto with keen interest. Up to this point, she had only observed him laughing, playfully teasing others, and consistently demonstrating kindness. While she had witnessed his serious demeanor in the heat of battle, she had not anticipated the existence of a more fearsome aspect within him. The recollection of his unsettling threat continued to send a chill down her spine. Finally, they entered another expansive cave, where the Hollowfeet Shinigami were confined in cages as if they were mere animals. Naruto displayed a look of discontent. 43. What occurred with the remainder? Analyzed for my research. I chose the female first due to the aesthetic appeal of their anatomy. Aizen clenched her fist, fully prepared to deliver a decisive blow to Mayuri's distasteful visage. Naruto, should we proceed with their transportation? There is no requirement. He drew his Zanpakuto and initiated its Shikai form, the transformation eliciting a look of fascination from Mayuri and an intrigued expression from Nemu. Naruto moved towards the closest cage and pulled the trigger of his musket. A surge of brilliant flames enveloped the hollow originating from a Shinigami. I am quite frustrated. The pale layer of skin was scorched away, exposing the anguished woman confined underneath. The flames eradicated every remnant of her hollow characteristics, resulting in the black-haired woman possessing impeccable skin. She fell to the ground, her rear elevated in a striking position. Naruto adjusted his posture and cleared his throat. Aizen, could you please assess her condition? Aizen efficiently cut through the cage and positioned herself beside the woman. A bright smile appeared on her face as she raised her head to meet Naruto's gaze. Congratulations on your achievement. I anticipate that she will regain consciousness shortly. Naruto acknowledged the situation and carefully withdrew his musket from Mayuri's reaching hands. Please refrain from touching. I will be borrowing it for a few days. No signifies a clear refusal. With a hint of amusement at Mayuri's exasperated expression, Naruto raised the musket to his lips and gently kissed its polished surface. His action prompted a soft sound that resonated in his thoughts. Master, Aurora whispered, you just kissed my butt. In the future, please communicate this in advance so that I can adequately prepare myself. Disregarding the young Zanpakuto spirit, he resolved to complete the task with efficiency and speed. Knock, knock, knock. The cave resonated with gunfire, each round striking true against a Hollowfeet Shinigami. Within a few minutes, all 43 were restored to their original form. They appeared profoundly affected, displaying no joy at their opportunity for a renewed existence. Mayuri observed the entire process, but he was unable to grasp any understanding. Your Shikai reverts an entity to an earlier condition. That is quite enlightening. Mayuri clenched his jaw. I possess the complete footage. I will not cease my efforts until I have a comprehensive understanding of your Shikai. Naruto declined with a shake of his head. Nemu, could you please bring some clothing for everyone? Captivated by his voice, Nemu nodded in agreement. I will. After nearly an hour, the Shinigami who had previously undergone holification were prepared to leave Mayuri's underground laboratory and return to their respective divisions. Despite their lifelong battles against the Hollows, the experience of transforming into one has undeniably inflicted profound wounds on their souls. A brief respite from their responsibilities would significantly aid in their recovery. As Naruto and Azane emerged from the lab's entrance, a calm and reassuring voice resonated in the air, drawing their attention. I see that both of you were present. Naruto and Azane simultaneously turned towards the familiar voice. As expected, Unohana positioned herself near the entryway, her spiritual energy seamlessly aligned with the surrounding ambient energy. She appeared more elusive than the seasoned assassin Yoruichi. 2 millennia provide ample opportunity to acquire proficiency in every fundamental skill available. I may evolve into a multiversal entity during that period. That seems quite isolating. I am grateful that partner will have my company indefinitely. Nami consistently emphasized her significance in his life. There is nothing out of the ordinary for the Yandere Phoenix. She would allow him to be with any woman, fully assured that only she would stand by his side until the very end. Naruto set aside his somber thoughts and focused entirely on Unohana. Greetings, Captain. Captain, did you arrive here for our purpose? Azane inquired. Unohana's lips formed a soft smile. Neither of you attended the morning assembly. I took the initiative to prevent you from engaging in any inappropriate actions. Her gaze shifted towards the multitude of Shinigami positioned behind them. I acknowledge that I may have missed the opportunity for that. Mayuri's facilities had gotten in the way of her attempts to follow their Ryutsu. Otherwise, she would have gotten here before the two of them encountered the crazed scientist. Azane chuckled and reached up to touch the back of her head. Everything went well. Naruto was able to convince Captain Kuretsuchi. Now, 47 of the 50 are normal Shinigami. Even though it was sad to lose 3 of their friends, she was so happy and relieved that most of them had been saved. Unohana smiled calmly when she heard the wonderful news. Let's go back to the division. We have a lot to talk about. Naruto put his hand on his chest. Captain, please don't look at me like that. It makes my heart race. Unohana's eyes got sharper. Maybe your heart needs surgery. Should I use my knife to cut it open? Cut me down if it means I won't feel this way when I'm with you anymore. I can't take it anymore. Are you sick, Naruto? Azane inquired, her face pinched in naive confusion. Captain and I can cure most common diseases. The two laughed at how charmingly clueless Azane was. Good afternoon. In her room, Naruto and Azane sat down in front of Unohana. The smell of freshly brewed tea and pastries nearby called to the two of them. Unohana smiled, but her eyes didn't crinkle. She was faking it. Please start. Naruto had a bad feeling in his gut that Unohana was planning something bad and that they were like sheep being fattened up for slaughter. Thanks for the tea, Azane said happily as she took the tea and started to enjoy it. Always so good. Unohana moved her head to the side. Is there a problem? Azane pushed him. Come on. The captain's tea is the best. You won't find anything like it in Soul Society. Naruto cleared his throat, picked up the cup, and drank from it. He didn't think Unohana would poison him because that kind of sneaky behavior was against her battle maniac nature. If she wanted to kill someone, she would do it with her sword in hand. Unohana's smile changed from a big one to a little, real one. Naruto, thank you for helping Azane. This child would have been heartbroken if no one had saved those Shinigami. Azane looked across at him with a smile that was both awkward and sweet. Naruto, that scary thing you did worked on Captain Kuretsuchi. What scary act? Unohana asked, raising her eyebrow. Since we're on the subject, I'd like to hear the whole story of what happened with the 12th squad. Azane was happy to tell them everything again, including how they messed up the 12th division and how Naruto fought Mayuri. I thought he was serious for a second. Thank goodness it was just a trick to scare Captain Kuretsuchi. Unohana thought about it and nodded. Having Naruto with us is already paying off. His Shikai is a real treasure for our division. Naruto laughed. It better be too powerful after all the crazy things I did to get it. I am the best Zanpakuto in the world. No, we are the best Zanpakuto in the world, Aurora said to Nami, who was being rude to her fellow Zanpakuto spirit. Isn't that right, Master? Of course. Hana smiled with her eyes closed, which is what she always does. The best reward for a healer is the satisfaction that comes from helping others feel better, but you should be rewarded for your work. Naruto looked at her with an expression of shock and bewilderment. I only want one thing in my life, you. In a moment, Hana's eyes narrowed to razor-sharp slits, and a cold, malicious desire came from her very core. Naruto Uzumaki, she said in a voice that showed no emotion. Would you please be so kind as to explain what you want? Naruto coughed. I want your training as my reward. You haven't forgotten about our first meeting, have you? Not so fast, young man. I told you to learn Kaido under Azane in our last conversation. Hana stopped and looked at his smirk closely. Azane, has he? Azane let out a shy laugh. Ah ha ha, he has beaten me, I'm not even ashamed to say it. His ability to flow spiritual energy through another person is, well, a Shinigami with only 6 months of experience in Kaido shouldn't be able to do that. Hana let out a gentle sigh. You keep surprising me. Very well, I'll start training you next week. This week, get used to my and Captain Shiba's division. Captain, I'll be in your care. Azane pulled on his kimono and looked confused. What kind of training do you want? She was interested because Naruto was already a captain-level fighter. What could he possibly require training for? Why would he pick Captain Hana? He said, just some techniques that have been lost for a long time. When you want to be the best, you can't ignore even the smallest advantages. Good luck. If you ever need help, don't be afraid to ask. People sometimes made similar offerings just to be polite, but Azane's remarks came straight from her heart. She was ready to do anything to aid him after what had happened before. I will definitely. As she watched them engage, Hana grinned strangely. I still haven't punished you two for not coming to the morning assembly. Oh no, Azane, help me. Azane laughed. Captain, I'll take my share of the punishment as well. She had been so happy that she thought she could solve any problem in the world. Hana put her arms across her chest. Then you will be the only one to do the weekly cleanup for the 4th squad. Azane's happy countenance changed when Hana punished her. Captain, you do know how big our division is. The 4th squad's barracks had the relief stations where sick or injured Shinigami were taken care of. Cleaning everything by yourself would take several days. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a punishment. As for Naruto, Hana's eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief as she spoke. Tomorrow, you will come with me to get medicinal herbs. Okay. He would love to have more time with Hana. Azane stared at her captain with her mouth open in shock and bewilderment. I understand. I will do my best to do my job. Usually, Azane went with Hana on her weekly trips to harvest herbs. But this time, she would have to pick up rubbish and tidy the hallways. She was going to receive a taste of what it was like to be a low-ranking member of her squad, but 10 times worse. Azane, it's time for your regular patrol of the relief station. It was a reminder to send the vice captain outside and let her have a few minutes alone with Naruto. Okay, I'll take care of that right away. Azane stood up and proceeded to the door. She stopped at the door and looked back at Naruto with a smile. I'll talk to you later. Don't miss me too much, my love. If that happens, I'll come to you. Naruto thought that as soon as Azane closed the door, the temperature in the room would decrease by at least 10 degrees. He had been flirting with Azane right in front of Hana, after all. Everyone knew that Hana saw Azane as her daughter. When he turned around, he saw that the gorgeous lady seemed serene and relaxed, as if she didn't mind his silly behavior. They looked at each other for a moment. He met her steady gaze, which kept his thoughts a secret. Hana looked at him closely, her blue eyes burrowing into his as if she could see right through to his soul. He kept his cool face and didn't move a muscle as she looked at him. Captain, do you have something on your mind? You lied to Azane, she said in a gentle voice. You planned to do everything you said to Captain Kuretsuchi if he told Central 46 about you. You were ready to kill him. He opened his eyes wide for a moment before closing them. He wasn't quite ready to give Yunohana his eyes, which were the keys to his soul. Captain, where did you get that idea? First of all, Captain Kuretsuchi isn't a man who will fall for lies. He'll see right through a rubbish act. Yunohana tapped her lips with her finger. You said that everything was an act to hide your true self from Azane. That girl is so gullible that she will believe anything, especially if it comes from the man she looks up to the most. Well, damn, I got caught lying, he said with a groan. Will I be punished? Maybe we'll have to fight until only one of us is left. When Yunohana swallowed hard, her throat moved, and the beast inside her that wanted to fight came to life at the thought of a death match. Before, she wouldn't have felt this way. But she couldn't hold back her excitement any longer after she learned about his strength and how similar their Zanpakutos were. She was getting more and more excited about cutting his flesh over and over. She closed her eyes tightly, and her nails dug into her palms where they were resting on her thighs. No, I don't want to punish you. Naruto could see her mental battle on her face and was amazed at how much willpower it took to control her insane bloodlust. He was greatly astonished by her strength. Partner, isn't it thrilling to be with a lady who could kill you at any time? To be with a woman who wants to kill you so terribly, yet at the same time, she wants to hug you and feel your warmth. The thrill of never knowing when her bad thoughts would win out in a relationship like this. Don't you find that hypnotizing, my love? Don't go crazy now, Nami, he said, both amused and worried about her proclivities. I swear I'll cuddle with you later. Ha, I guess I'll be quiet then. He chuckled again when he looked back at Yunohana. I guess I'm too weak to fight you. I'm going to train. Just wait until the day I beat you. He tried to soothe her thoughts and keep her from wanting to kill people by using the power of his voice. Her shaking eyebrows stopped shaking, and her lips turned up in a smile. What will you do after you kill me? Before she met him, the idea of a novice beating her would have been completely crazy. But she knew for sure that he would beat her in no time. Naruto turned his head and opened his eyes wide in fake confusion. Why would I kill you? The Soul Society already doesn't have enough good women. What kind of man would I be to make the list even shorter? A real look of surprise crossed her face, but it was gone as soon as it came. Then her smile came back, this time more real and deeper. Sorry, but you're knocking on the wrong door for this good woman. There is no love or passion here, only death and slaughter. Oh, you care a lot about your division for someone who says they're a killer. Yunohana's lips parted, and there was a spark of something unreadable in her eyes, but then she stopped herself from going any farther. We're going off topic. We need to talk about you and Azane. The captain decided to shift the subject instead of arguing with him. She was very good with words, but she didn't have a chance against him. He smirked at her evident loss, which made her frown. What do you want to talk about with me and Azane? First of all, did you think Azane would stay away from you after she found out you were crazy? Because, to be honest, only a crazy person would threaten Captain Kuretsuchi like that. I don't know how she'll react to what I said about being crazy. I played it safe. Yunohana nodded to show that she understood. I didn't think someone like you could feel insecure. Naruto shook his head and said, everyone has flaws, even someone as beautiful and elegant as you. What other choices did I have? I didn't want to be Mayuri's test subject, and I also didn't want Azane to go to jail. She was willing to be a test subject to help those people. What kind of man would I be to let her go to jail because of what I did? I took a risk to make her wish come true, and it worked out. Yunohana's eyes sparkled with interest. Are you saying that you will live like an exile to protect one girl? I'll gladly leave my home to keep Azane's smile. You. ... Yunohana could only shake her head, not knowing what to say. That is the most ridiculous thing you've ever said, but it fits with your character. He laughed. I mean, it won't be that bad. I can spend more time with Kazuki over there and learn new things from him. Yunohana didn't like it when someone casually brought up Kazuki, another exile. The area was instantly filled with a thick, malicious intent that was so strong that Naruto practically saw blood-red fog around him. He felt a cold blade against his neck the next moment. Yunohana loomed above him like a grim reaper ready to kill him. Even though her eyes were cold and she wanted to kill, she was still the picture of grace. Naruto, Hana said in a chilly voice. You joined the academy, fought Captain Soy Fawn on your first day, made friends with a lot of important people, and helped us out with the Arankar's situation. You did everything to win favors for Kazuki. You and he are very close. From the first time they met, Hana had a bad feeling that the charming young man was hiding something beneath his carefree, womanizing behavior. Now, this scary feeling was genuine. The newest member of the 4th Squad was working with none other than Kazuki Urahara, the exile who was blamed for planning an Arankar invasion that almost killed several captains and vice-captains. Naruto quickly said, "Well, I know that guy," and nodded to show that he agreed with her. "But you betrayed us," Hana said in a firm voice, cutting him off. "After Azane treated you like family. After I gave you." She stopped talking when she saw how disappointed she looked, which surprised her. "You took advantage of our trust from the start. Why did you join us?" She had come to like the young man for his boldness, so his treachery hurt her more than a knife through her flesh. If it had happened before she became the captain of the 4th Squad, she would have killed him right away. Back then, 10 betrayals wouldn't have made a difference. She had lost that edge. Helping people and preserving lives had rendered her weak. "You were right about one thing." Naruto pushed her sword back with his hand on the sharp edge. He met her eyes solidly and stood up, even though blood was pouring from his cut palm. "I did get into your ranks for a reason. I knew it." Hana stopped and put her Zanpakuto back in its sheath. She looked at the thick crimson fluid coming out of his wound with a strange look. "We'll talk after I use Kaido." Seeing blood somehow calmed her down and let her think about what was going on. She had to hear Naruto's side of the tale because of the way he looked at her. There had to be a reason for everything. "I want to know his story." He earned the benefit of the doubt since he had provided Azane real delight that Hana could never give her. She held on to the tiny bit of hope that he wasn't guilty. He could be forced to do what Kazuki said, or maybe, there was a chance Kazuki wasn't the bad guy in this case. Naruto raised his hand, and the cut that had been there just a few moments before was gone. "Accelerated self-regeneration," Hana said with an expression of amazement. "Not possible. Shinigami can't do this." Because Hana hadn't seen Naruto unsheath his Zanpakuto, the regeneration couldn't have originated from it. He said, "Just a little talent of mine," in a non-specific way. "Are you going to ask me about this goal of mine?" "I was just getting to that," Hana said softly. "Tell me, what exactly?" "All will be revealed in due time," he said with a cheeky grin, which was the most someone had done in one day and lived to tell the tale with their head intact. "Please let me eat these tasty cookies." He kept his word and sat down to eat the delicious sweets that Hana had made for him and Azane. His relaxed attitude made it seem like he was either overly confident or didn't care about what would happen if he made Hana mad. "You are full of yourself, Captain," he answered with a small smile. "You've lived 100 times longer than I have. Surely you know the difference between being arrogant and being confident. It's a little thin, but it does exist." Hana put her arms across her chest. "Confidence comes from being sure of yourself and believing in your own abilities, while arrogance is self-centered and focused on boosting your own ego." "Exactly. There is no arrogance here. Just a charming boy who knows what he can do," he said with a sharp look. "And I'm pretty sure I can kill everyone in the Soul Society." Hana had no doubt that he was telling the truth because of how sure he sounded. She didn't believe Naruto's assertion that he had killed everyone in the Soul Society, including herself, Kenpachi Zaraki, and Yamamoto Genryusai, 2 men she had yet to beat. Her eyes narrowed to lethal slits, and all the kindness she had shown for the preceding few hundred years was gone. "Is your main goal to kill everyone here?" "Not at all," he said, leaning back with a heavy sigh. "Kazuki sent me to save the Soul Society from certain death." Hana raised her eyebrow in doubt. "Soul Society has been around for 2,000 years. We even fought a war against the King of Quincy. What could bring us down?" The Seraite was built on solid ground, so strong that even the death of Captain Commander Yamamoto would not cause it to fall apart. Only someone with a lot of power working from the inside might do damage that can't be fixed. He responded, "You guessed that right," as if he could read her mind. "A captain in your ranks is waiting for the right time to take over your world." He's the guy you won't ever think is a clever fox. One of the captains. Hana's mind went right to Aizen, whose recent actions had been very strange. Which one? And what proof do you have for your bold claims? The proof is a little far away. Oh, forget it, I'll take you there myself. Huh, where are? He picked her up in his arms like a princess in one smooth motion. Her loose kimono shihakusho was nothing more than a small problem for the young man. Even though she had been on guard the whole time, he had come up to her with no bad intentions. It was even more astonishing to see that he was faster than any opponent she had ever fought. She was the most famous combat junkie of her time, and she had more than 1,000 enemies. Just wait. Time doesn't wait for anyone, Hana. He shot forward with explosive speed, faster than any Shinigami could move with Shunpo or any other method. Hold on tight. Hana sighed and put her arms around his neck, still irritated that he was carrying her like a damsel in distress. Still, she had to acknowledge that he was far faster than she was. No matter where they were going, they would get there in record time. They got to their target, the 8th Squad's barracks, just a few moments later. Before anyone could see her in such a bad spot, Hana leapt off right away. Listen, if you try to hurt anyone here, I'll cut your throat without thinking. She spoke a few lies, but she was sure that Naruto's senses weren't sharp enough to notice the tiny change in her resolve. All I'm going to do is heal, Naruto said under his breath, reminding her once more of the ridiculous regeneration that she would have thought was impossible if she hadn't seen it happen right in front of her. Now, Captain, if you could please come with me to meet Captain. When they felt a familiar Ryutsu, both of them turned to watch as the entrance to the barracks swung open. There was a beautiful woman with glasses on the other side. She didn't seem surprised at all that two people had come to her door. Nanao's poker face rivaled, if not surpassed, Lisa's. She had arrived here with the sole purpose of welcoming them. Naruto, what brings you here today? Come on, Nanao-chan. Is it possible for a guy to just visit a friend without any hidden agenda? Absolutely not. She dismissed it quickly, showing no signs of doubt. Redirecting her focus to Hana, she presented a courteous smile. It's a delightful surprise to see you here, Captain Hana. I invite you to come in. Naruto placed a hand between Nanao and Hana. I hope it's not seen as boasting, but I've received a heartfelt reception after all the efforts I put in for your captain. You must have realized by now that I'm not really the warm welcome kind of girl, Nanao said with a slight smile. Your uniform looks really impressive. Who did you pick on to get this? Naruto casually brushed his sleeves, a self-satisfied grin spreading across his face. Byakuya Kuchiki. Oh dear. This troublemaker is swiping from the aristocrats now. We women were absolutely on point in starting a mission to bring you down for good. He couldn't help but chuckle at the memory of their first meeting. No woman in the Soul Society can defeat me, I'm simply irresistible to women. Nanao let out an exasperated sigh. I'll give that a try with my fists. Just make sure you take care of the wound afterward. Hana watched their lighthearted exchange with her characteristic calm smile, yet internally she felt a sense of curiosity about the unexpected bond forming between Naruto and the typically reserved Nanao. Throughout all her years, she had never seen the bespectacled vice captain share a laugh with anyone besides her uncle. Hana looked at Naruto intently. Could you share some insights with Nanao regarding our work here? Nanao picked up on the subtle tension in Hana's words, yet she deemed it wise to keep her thoughts to herself. Naruto, you weren't honest about your reasons for coming here to see me. Hana's sharp perception caught the subtle hint of disappointment in Nanao's voice. At this point, she would have found it less surprising if the young woman hadn't developed a bit of a crush on Naruto. If Hana had gone ahead with her original choice to execute Naruto for what she saw as betrayal, his countless supporters would have pursued her relentlessly. Naruto took a moment to clear his throat. Nanao, is your captain around? Where else could he possibly be? Nanao whispered softly to herself and put on a cheerful grin. Absolutely. My captain is taking care of the garden. Come along with me. Nanao guided the duo to a charming cottage tucked away in the center of the division's expansive backyard. The quaint appeal of the location brought to mind Naruto's memories of Kukaku Shiba's simple home, nestled in a remote area, Both had a lovely view of vibrant gardens from their windows. I could see myself staying here for a long time. Nanao cleared her throat, her cheeks flushing for an unknown reason. Captain Unohana, could you please hold on for a moment while I go get Shunsui-san? Make sure to watch this troublemaker closely. He'll take something just to play with my mind. A sudden understanding flickered in his eyes. Oh, so this is where you live. That clarifies why your aroma is all around. Nanao's cheeks flushed an even brighter shade of red. Naruto, please refrain from making strange comments, or I might have to give you a playful whack with this book. He gave a playful thumbs up. Take it easy, Nanao-chan. It's quite delightful for the senses. A strong 9 out of 10. Nanao gripped her book tightly and threw it at his face. End. He caught the book midair and tossed it right back to her. Nanao-chan is such a tsundere, adorable. It's not really unexpected given her background of being raised in isolation. With a frustrated stomp of her foot, Nanao turned sharply and dashed away, leaving Naruto and Unohana in the warm, inviting room. Unohana looked at him with an expressionless gaze. How many girls have developed feelings for you? Countless. God gave me a massive heart so I can love a lot of people, he said, settling comfortably in the center of the room. You seem a bit worried. Don't tell me you're worried about my women coming after you for what you've done. Unohana examined his face with an expression of clear curiosity. What makes you so skilled at this? What do you mean by good? Are you suggesting that it's about understanding what someone is thinking? Naruto beamed with joy. Many individuals naturally steer clear of making eye contact while engaging in dialogue. I enjoy looking into someone's eyes while I engage in conversation with them. It provides me with a close understanding of their deepest feelings. Have you ever come across the idea that the eyes reveal a person's true essence? How intriguing, Unohana murmured, a playful glint in her smile. Just to clarify, I'm not worried about your women coming after me for revenge. I'm concerned they could pose a risk to others in my division. She spoke plainly, as he was already aware of her passion for her division. Just a few of them have the potential to take you down if they really push themselves. They reside beyond the boundaries of Soul Society. There's really no need for concern. Unohana let out a gentle sigh and gracefully assumed a formal Caesar position. Is Yoruichi on the list too? Why not just ask her directly? Naruto tilted his head, gazing at the garden beyond. Yoruichi, it's time to come out. Unohana quickly turned her attention to the outside, where a black cat appeared from between the bushes. As that, indeed, it's me, Yoruichi Shihoin, the flash goddess herself, Yoruichi affirmed in her uniquely feminine tone as she entered the room and took a stance of deep respect before Unohana. It's nice to see you once more, Unohana. Unohana displayed a heartfelt smile. I'm glad to hear that too. I have to admit, I had no idea that his cat was actually you in disguise. Your ability to transform is truly remarkable. What makes you so sure about who she is? Naruto inquired, slightly puzzled by Unohana's willingness to agree so readily. She has the ability to imitate voices. Unohana extended her hand and softly caressed Yoruichi's ears. It is indeed possible to mimic someone's voice, however, it's impossible to replicate spiritual pressure. I usually have a strong recall of spiritual pressures compared to others. Although her Ryutsu has transformed through the years, I can still sense the core of her aura present here. That's a valid point, Yoruichi acknowledged with a nod before shifting her attention to Naruto. Will you share all the details with her? Absolutely. Now seems like the perfect moment to bring her into our corner, he remarked, scratching the back of his head. That being the case, she'll require a touch of charm. Captain Shunsui ought to suffice for the task at hand. Yoruichi laughed at his awkward cat pun. Having Unohana's support will always be a good thing. Unohana gazed at the two, her eyes filled with eager expectation. She felt a strong desire to uncover the truths that would affirm Naruto and Kazuki's innocence, a possibility that seemed to increase slightly with Yoruichi's surprising arrival. As they waited for Shunsui, a tranquil silence enveloped the room, a soothing calm that anyone could cherish from time to time. Yoruichi gracefully settled onto Naruto's lap, nuzzling her face against him. Watching him hold his hands up to prevent any contact reminded her of the last prank she pulled. Regarding our discussion from last night, I apologize, Naruto. I'm not sure what I was thinking. It was uncommon for the playful cat to say sorry, yet even she could recognize when her antics had crossed the line. He softened and placed his hands on her back, gently caressing her in the way she loved. You can't escape that easily. Although he always brushed off her teasing, he wouldn't be opposed to receiving a little something in return for it all. I promise to make it right, she whispered, her body softly settling into his lap. We'll talk about the details later. At the moment, your focus should be on Shunsui-san. As the dialogue unfolded, the sound of the captain and vice-captain's footsteps echoed in the background. Naruto carefully placed Yoruichi aside and stood up, straightening his posture to reflect a sense of decorum. He welcomed the easygoing captain with a friendly grin. You sure took your time getting here. Shunsui removed his straw hat, a melancholic smile gracing his face. It required all my effort to break free from the soft hold of the afternoon nap. However, the rare appearance of Dai-senpai made it all worthwhile. Yunohana remained completely unfazed by his compliments, causing his eyebrows to twitch in response. Naruto is the one who brought me here. Really? Is there something you need? Naruto set Yoruichi aside and stood up. Shunsui-san, Captain Yunohana thinks I'm a villain, determined to use her squad to bring down the Soul Society at Kazuki's command. Could you please clarify the situation? Shunsui's eyes grew wide with astonishment, then narrowed as comprehension dawned. I understand. Dai-senpai, Naruto has arrived to cleanse the Soul Society of a formidable darkness. Aizen Sosuke is the name of the mastermind orchestrating the Arrancar's invasion of the living world. Yunohana tilted her head slightly, displaying minimal surprise at the revelation. I understand. Is that all? Is that really all you have to say? Shunsui nearly shouted, clearly surprised by her casual demeanor. Finding out about it cost me a whole day of sleep. How do you manage to handle it so effortlessly? Yunohana gently shook her head. You've just validated the doubts I had regarding Captain Sosuke. I suspect his betrayal goes back for centuries. He was instrumental in the initial holification event. Just as I anticipated from Dai-senpai. Shunsui expressed his approval with a nod of his head. Throughout this time, Naruto has been striving to gain your trust. He intended for you to pass this information to Captain Yama so that he could handle the traitor. Yunohana turned her gaze towards Naruto and bowed her head slightly. I need to say I'm sorry. Naruto brushed aside her apology with a casual wave of his hand. Simply inform Captain Yama regarding Aizen. I'd rather not have another confrontation with that guy. Yunohana's brow knitted together in perplexity. Once more, you mention. When was the last time you had a confrontation with him? Yoruichi, create a protective barrier. Naruto asked, facing away from the gathered Shinigami. I'm on the verge of doing something wild. Do your best to keep your surprise in check. Once Yoruichi enveloped the house in her protective barriers, Naruto allowed the flames to course through him, transforming him back into his true form. Horns burst forth from the sides of his head, while dark, leathery wings unfurled from his back. In just moments, he transformed from the amiable Shinigami into the stuff of nightmares, a fearsomely strong Arrancar. Nanao gulped, feeling completely engulfed by the weight of his presence, even though he had witnessed his transformation previously. The Arrancars resembled a wavering flame in his presence. Yunohana also understood that he was truthful about possessing the ability to eliminate everyone in the Soul Society. Instead of being filled with fear like a typical Shinigami, she was eagerly anticipating the moment, much like a famished man gazing at exquisite dishes. The scar on her chest throbbed, urging her to draw her katana and confront the hollow immediately. Naruto glanced back at Yunohana, his expression a mix of curiosity and confusion. Captain, now is not the moment to let your bloodlust take over. He found Yunohana's indifference towards his hollow nature and her eagerness to confront him completely unsurprising. Partner, she might come after you soon. Yunohana averted her gaze and gave a slight nod. I apologize for the mistake. Everything is okay. Anyway, I'm an Arrancar capable of transforming into other races whenever I choose. Yunohana extended her hand and gently brushed against his horns. It appears you faced off against Captain Sosuke in this state. So, what do you think happened that he didn't recognize you when you two met? Her voice faltered as she watched Naruto's features contort and change right before her eyes. In just a moment, his expression transformed into that of someone familiar, the female hollow who had vowed to take revenge on Aizen in Karakura town. Everyone was captivated by his striking change. He had transformed from a robust demonic figure into an enchanting beauty with radiant yellow hair, resembling a celestial being from another realm. Naruto exhaled, finding their responses all too expected. Without hesitation for their admiration, he embraced his Shinigami form. Shunsui found himself clapping for Naruto. "Would you like to hang out with me sometime in that way? I'll take care of all the drinks." Yunohana gave Shunsui a playful smack on the back of his head. "He is already committed to my Azane." "Oh, that's unfortunate. Stay tuned for more." Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.